unlikable. Angel Reese, really unlikable. I mean, just really unlikable. And trust me, it's hard for most men to dislike a woman who puts her butt on display everywhere she goes. And she's got a pretty big one and a good one. But she's unlikable.
Angel Reese just got caught by the WNBA for using steroids, and it's honestly absurd.
I just hope y'all know the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think that pays one of my bills. Literally. I'm trying to think of like my rent for where I stay at. I'm gonna do the math real quick.
It might cover that. Yeah,
It
definitely covers that.
What is I don't even know my salary. 74? I don't even know my salary. Does it? Let me see.
How low can someone go just to grab attention? Steroid use is illegal in sports because it's essentially cheating.
You don't even... Yo! I'm living beyond my means. It's like... No, my rent is more than that. It's 8,000. I'm living beyond my means, like y'all think.
Boosting your muscles and pretending to be an unstoppable athlete. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is out there shining without breaking any rules.
And yesterday, we got another example, I think, of her on her own podcast complaining about how she can't afford an $8,000 a month rent payment. It's the epitome of first world problems. It's the epitome of first world stupidity. It's the epitome of just Angel Reese not being well thought out. I want to play this clip of Angel Reese talking about how the WNBA can't pay her bills.
It's almost laughable how Reese couldn't handle that reality. Angel Reese's ego seems so fragile that she resorted to one of the dirtiest tricks in the book.
Here's the other problem, is the black girl. Let's take the cover girls for the Wall Street Journal. Last week, it resurfaced again. Asia Wilson telling Kelsey Plum about, white privilege and blah, blah, blah. And, Asia Wilson, again, we've talked about on this show, some of her friends. Asia Wilson's
hoping no one would catch on. Seriously? Getting caught using steroids? Now we see the truth behind all that fake confidence and bravado she's been flaunting.
unlikable. I'm just sorry. She's just out of college. She's 22, 23. She can barely hit layups. She's getting paid $74,000 for the WNBA. She's got, I'm sure, endorsement deals into the seven figures. So that's why she's laughing about this. And like, she's bragging how much money she makes, and she doesn't need her WNBA salary.
The same Angel Reese who claims to be the best and acts like she's untouchable just got exposed for cheating.
And I live in an $8,000 a month apartment, blah, blah, blah. She's 22, 23 years old. And again, these are the same WNBA women and same black women that want to be pro-social justice, and they're looking out for black people and blah, blah. She's mocking.
You've got to be kidding me. The player who calls herself the queen of the WNBA is now facing allegations of using steroids just to keep up.
Working class people. I got out of college, Steve, at 23, and I made $5 an hour at the Bloomington Herald-Times. And it was part-time work. I didn't get 40 hours a week. Most people don't come out of college and make $74,000 a year, but that's how spoiled and entitled. And so these players they're trying to build around, they're unlikable, Steve.
Seriously? This isn't how you come in and dominate the game. Steroids are the go-to shortcut for desperate athletes looking to bulk up or enhance their performance, and now they're linked to Reese. In a recent WNBA playoff game, Caitlin Clark experienced an eye poke from Dejonai Carrington, which sparked a lot of discussion. This reminds me of an event that changed my life. In 2016, I was driving to a reunion with friends when a distracted driver ran a red light and crashed into me. My car was total, and I ended up needing multiple knee surgeries. Insurance companies often try to pay you less than what you deserve after an accident, which is why I'm excited to introduce our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. They're the largest personal injury law firm in the country and can fight for the best possible result for your case if you become their client. Whether it's a minor accident or something more serious, they make sure the insurance company doesn't shortchange you. The best part? You don't pay them up front. If they don't win, you don't pay. If you ever find yourself in an accident, remember remember your options. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in description below. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. And let's talk about the irony here.
You know, it's times like this where I think to myself, where have you gone, Kevin Samuels? You are really, but thankfully you're there to fill the Nikes there. First of all, let's unpack all of this. The LSU math department, I really hope she wasn't a math major. Look, I'm an Asian. I'm not even good at math. I knew 12 times 8 is 96,000.
This is the same Angel Reese who constantly criticizes Caitlin Clark.
Now, if that doesn't cover any of your bills, a couple points here. The average American salary I've read is anywhere between 45 to 50,000. The WNBA season is not 12 months. In fact, it's not even half a year. The sense of entitlement that somehow that you're underpaid in a league that has never turned a profit.
Claiming she only gets attention because she's white. The projection is strong.
And is subsidized by men. Yeah, men. It's just mind-boggling to me. And the other thing is, you're right, she really comes off. If I am these other players in the WNBA that do not have her profile, I think to myself, if you have any self-awareness.
While Reese was busy throwing shade and complaining about race, she might have been hiding her own secret.
Caitlin Clark is not my problem. She's not my enemy. She is. And by the way she's been dressing and showing up. All right, if you need help paying rent, is a Angel Reese OnlyFans coming up next? I mean, it's kind of the next step. Can't pay the bills, got to pay the rent. Showing a lot of skin. She looks okay for now.
Performance-enhancing drugs. Maybe the real issue is that Reese couldn't stand the fact that Clark was outshining her without any shortcuts.
Sometimes, man, you need to slow down and you need to appreciate the greatness of some of the things you say and clarify and belabor them and finish that point. You've made an excellent point here in terms of who is the real problem. Yeah. Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese? Because, again,
Caitlin Clark set the WNBA rookie scoring record with 761 points this season.
Angel Reese is undermining the league with her unlikability. The reason why people are jumping on board and everyone's is they finally found a player who's halfway likable in Caitlin Clark and who doesn't rub their wealth, privilege, and entitlement down everyone's throat and force it on like I'm supposed to be special.
All achieved cleanly and legitimately. Meanwhile, Angel Reese, despite her alleged enhancements, can't even come close to that number.
You've made an outstanding point that Angel Reese is the one that is going to hurt people's pocketbooks while Caitlin Clark is filling up people's pocketbooks.
I mean, Jason, every time these ladies do not have to go on Frontier and Spirit and bring their boxing gloves and their headgear, they should do the Barry Bonds home run point.
While Reese is busy making excuses and throwing around fake accusations, Clark is letting her performance do the talking.
Or literally, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They should get a fat head on every plane of Caitlin Clark's mug. And every time they sit down, touch that face, just like a football team. Like, we will play like champions. Just touch that face, like, just give it a thumbs up. Like, way to go, white girl. Thanks.
That must sting, because regardless of any enhancements Reese might be using, she still can't match Clark's raw talent. And we can't overlook her other antics. Remember when she pretended to be injured just to gain some sympathy? That whole situation looks even more questionable now. One minute she's on the sidelines, and the next she's back stronger than ever, now with steroid accusations on top of it. The issue is, no one is buying that act anymore. In Angel Reese's case, it's not just about competition. It's about desperately holding on to a reputation built more on drama than skill. The pressure is immense. Endorsements, fame, and that small slice of the spotlight are all slipping away. So what does she do? Instead of putting in the hard work, Reese seems to have taken the easy way out by using steroids. Why bother with effort when there's a quick fix available? The WNBA is tougher than ever, and with Caitlin Clark stealing headlines with her incredible performances, Reese is fading fast. The player who once strutted around like she owned the league is now just a shadow behind those who are genuinely putting in the effort. Reese's performance has been as inconsistent as a faulty elevator. One day, she shines with moments of brilliance, and the next, she looks completely lost on the court. It feels like she's struggling to stay relevant in a league that's moving ahead without her. And just when her stats start to decline, suddenly she claims, "Oh, I'm injured, right, Angel?" We totally believe that. Injuries conveniently popping up when your performance isn't cutting it. What's even more amusing is how she's trying to play the victim, pulling the poor me card in hopes that sympathy will distract from the possibility of her using steroids. Honestly, if you're willing to risk your entire career over illegal supplements, at least have the courage to own up to it. Instead, she's out here complaining about injuries, shifting the blame, and expecting everyone to feel sorry for her. Instead of putting in the effort to genuinely improve, she's looking for shortcuts, which is honestly a bit sad. While Caitlin Clark is out there breaking records with her natural talent and hard work, Reese seems to be sitting on the sidelines, scheming ways to cheat, whether it's using steroids or faking injuries, just to stay relevant. God forbid she fades into obscurity, right? If this investigation doesn't go well, she could face a suspension, a tarnished reputation, and the end of whatever credibility she has left. The WNBA deserves athletes who earn their spot, not those willing to cut corners and jeopardize their health just to stay in the spotlight. What's truly unfortunate is that instead of working on her game, she's been sabotaging her own career with one controversy after another. Fake injuries, endless drama, and now this. How much lower can it get? If this is true, it might be time for her to take a step back and figure out what kind of athlete she really wants to be. Right now, the only title she seems to be aiming for is the WNBA's biggest joke. You wanted to be at the top, Angel? Well, congratulations. You've made it, just not in the way you hoped. Welcome to the Hall of Shame.
You know, obviously I got an obsession with Caitlin Clark. So I want to bring a couple of things into this as it relates to Caitlin Clark, because she's so critical. And again, as the Jackie Robinson, she has success. It's going to encourage and inspire other women to stand up.
We didn't just pull this out of thin air, Angel. Reese took Caitlin Clark or Kennedy Carter down with a WUE-style forearm shiver while shouting at Caitlin.
And even though, you know, Caitlin's doing it very subtly, if at all, maybe it's all unintentional. But I do know she's the target, and I saw that Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe were talking about this, and they're all trying to frame this the Caitlin Clark deal.
And then there's Diamond, who came in hard on Clark like Rod Woodson back in '97.
In this racial envelope, and they're wrong. And I'm going to explain to you why they're wrong, but we're going to start with Sue Bird on her podcast with her friend, or whatever they're calling each other themselves. SOT number 2. Let's play that.
This isn't fiction. It actually happened.
Can we just like call a spade a spade? Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing. Sure. This is, and in that way, I do think Caitlin's being used as a pawn. Mm-hmm. Caitlin didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this.
Mm-hmm. Let's not overlook the Seattle Storm player who really went after her during games.
We've been trying to tell you. And once again, for so long, as a player, I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. Mm-hmm. In so many ways, I would have loved to have been valued as a basketball player. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. Mm-hmm. I think everybody in the league can say that. Mm-hmm. But nobody ever let us do that. So what happened?
If you keep calling that punishment basketball, it seems like your league doesn't fully understand the sport.
We started to build a backbone. A little bit of an identity. We understood that in order to push our league forward, we were going to have to combat these things. And then you know what else we learned? It feels good to stand up for yourself. Mm-hmm. It feels even better to stand up for others. We started to learn that people were learning from us and able to follow us in a different way. Mm-hmm. And who are we following? Black women.
Mm-hmm. There's a clear distinction between being physical and what many perceive as outright aggression.
Mm-hmm. So that's such an important part. And I think, again, I get sad when I talk about this a little bit in that we're still not talking about basketball.
No.
We're still not allowed to be focused on for our basketball play. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say we're not going to continue to combat these things. That'll always exist, I think, in the fabric of our league. But we still aren't talking about basketball.
Yeah.
We're supposed to come off as if we dislike her.
They're not talking about basketball because you don't want to talk about basketball, just as you described there. You couldn't get any traction based on your basketball. And so you decided, hey, we got to talk about racism and sexism to draw attention. We have to kneel during the national anthem to draw attention. It's bad strategy.
Giving her the side eye and hoping for her failure in the WNBA.
You just wanted attention. You were being an attention whore. And so because your basketball couldn't do it, they'll do anything I'll start skipping school. I'll start smoking marijuana. I'll start talking back to my teacher. I'll start doing things to get my parents' attention because I'm not getting enough attention. That's what you did. You chose bad behavior because your basketball wasn't good enough.
She's trying to shift some blame onto the fans too.
And instead of saying someone showed up here who plays good enough basketball to draw attention, and now people are actually evaluating my basketball. They're having conversations about, well, who's Rookie of the Year? Who's the MVP? Is it Caitlin Clark? Is it Asia Wilson? People are talking about basketball.
But ultimately, it's the players who need to maintain professionalism on the court.
And so this whole thing of, racism stopped the WNBA. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Here's the facts. Here's what's been the problem with the WNBA. Now, I'm sorry, these are just true facts. You had too many women.
One thing I can say about this new fan base is that they hold everyone accountable whenever something
tatted up and looking like men, that it was unattractive. People don't want to see that. People don't want to see women doing an impersonation of men. I know that everybody in San Francisco and everybody on the left loves a drag show, but there are a lot of traditional sports fans
goes down. It's about pushing players to take responsibility for their actions.
Who have no interest in going to a drag show. I'm someone that used to go to Vegas a lot. Never went to a drag show. Never appealed to me. And that's not me saying, I'm the most heterosexual person in the world, and I am man, hear me. That's not.
Or at least urging the WNBA to step up. The commissioner doesn't seem willing to take a stand.
It just never drew my attention. Spearmint Rhino, yeah, drew my attention. And that's a lot of people. You would be shocked at how many people have no interest in ever seeing men dressed up as women or women dressed up as men.
I've been wondering when Adam Silver will step in because there's a real opportunity for this league to grow and gain legitimacy.
It's not a good sales product. And so people weren't interested. Caitlin Clark shows up with her ponytail and no tattoos and plays a brand of basketball that's exciting and fun to watch, and voila, a crowd shows up. And then they take advantage like, we got Angel Reese.
Until they recognize that one player who embodies a mix of Steph Curry and Larry Bird,
who likes to be a woman and dress up as a woman, she's going to lean into that. We're going to pair her with Cameron Brink, who likes to dress up and appear like a woman. And the next thing you know, the brand of the WNBA started to change. Like, oh my God, these are women playing basketball. And Caitlin Clark plays in a way that's exciting and fun.
They're missing a significant chance. You know, when you look at how people view Jordan, it's clear that this player is getting a raw deal. It's the same old story every single game. Seriously, this league seems to lack seriousness at times. I mean, come on, take Sue Bird for instance. She's an icon, but she doesn't always paint the full picture. Look at players like Diamond DeShields and Carter. They've had their fair share of tough moments too. And don't even get me started on DJ Carrington. No one is immune to the challenges that come with the game. That's just the way it is. Now, mentioning Draymond Green doesn't really fit here since he isn't singling out one player like this. I really can't wrap my head around why the WNBA community tends to twist things around, acting as if we're oblivious to what's going on with Caitlin Clark. Just saying it's all in your head softly doesn't make it any less of a cover dash up. Honestly, I think she might be trying to shield Diana Taurasi, but that approach won't work. Someone brought up whether she should respond to what Gino said, and yeah, he definitely contributed to the narrative too. I appreciate this viewpoint. The WNBA struggles with its popularity partly because it has a bit of a rough reputation. Not in terms of physicality, but it definitely needs some tidying up. There simply isn't enough talent in the league to justify that kind of play. The NBA figured this out ages ago, yet we're expected to accept more roughness in women's basketball than in men's? It just doesn't make sense, and honestly, no one wants to watch that kind of game. It quickly becomes a real eyesore, doesn't it? Honestly, it feels like we're being gaslit here. When is this going to end? This guy points out that Sue Bird won't call out her fellow WNBA players, and he's got a point. But until someone steps up, they're just part of the problem. Women's sports have way too many activists and not enough real competitors who actually make the game fun. Except for Caitlin Clark, of course, people just want to enjoy basketball. It seems like the whole league is wrapped up in activism. Diana started it, then Cheryl Swoops jumped on board, and it just keeps rolling. I didn't even mention Cheryl Swoops before, but it's ridiculous. Sue Bird hasn't said a word against Caitlin Clark this year, but she's definitely not being upfront about things. There's no way they don't see what's going on in this league. They're just trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and we're not buying it. I mean, I didn't rush the court to take down Caitlin Clark or anything. That wasn't me with some crazy move during the Chicago Sky game. It's just mind-boggling. What's worse is that they've got new fans and are acting like they know nothing about basketball. I've been a fan since I was 6. I'm almost 50 now. I grew up watching the Bad Boy Pistons, the Bulls, the Pacers, and the Knicks. Those rivalries were intense, but they don't hold a candle to the craziness we're seeing in this league today. They really need to get their act together because they've been struggling for a while. If Caitlin Clark gets hurt and can't play anymore, we might see that decline all over again. Just look at the ratings and attendance now that she's out of the playoffs.